Chapter 35. Kirtan Loor fussed with the hem of his tunic and adjusted his cap with a tug on the bill. He wanted to feel confident about his recall to Coruscant, but he did not dare allow himself that indulgence. His mission had been the destruction of Rogue Squadron. While half of it had died at Borlius, the other half lived, with Wedge Antilles and Corin Horns still flying. In fact, the unit had amassed a considerable list of kills while it was his to destroy, so he could not imagine Isard Isard would be in a pleasant mood. He cracked a smile. I cannot imagine her ever being in a good mood. The door to her office slid open, and Kirtan's smile died. Isard again wore her Scarlet Admiral's uniform, complete with the black armband on her left arm. Her hair had been drawn back and fastened at the nape of her neck with a black clasp. She gestured invitingly, but the mannerly nature of her greeting only played through her hand. Her mismatched eyes prophesied doom, but he thought it might be deferred instead of immediate. Please, Agent Loor, do come in. I trust the journey from Borlius was not too tiring. He shook his head, doing his best to hide any trace of fatigue. I apologize for not being here sooner. My original agenda was disrupted, hence the week's delay in my arrival. I know about it. Another operation demanded some resources that I had planned to use for your return. She casually waved away concern over the delay, something Kirtan found mildly annoying since she had caused it and his week on Terprawa. I trust you spent your time on Terprawa well. Well? Terprawa had been a rebel transfer point for the stolen data about the first Death Star. As punishment for their complicity in the rebellion, the population saw its world reduced to a pre-industrial state, where banthas were the swiftest form of travel, and fire was the highest level of energy production available to the native people. Imperial forces lived in gleaming citadels that remained lit like beacons throughout the night, becoming visible monuments to what the people of Terprawa had lost through their perfidy. You studied their suffering, yes? Her dark brows arrowed together. You saw what they have become. Kirtan swallowed hard. I have seen, yes. They are wretched and pathetic. And you witnessed one of their festivals? He nodded slowly. The festival involved a company of stormtroopers driving a cart laden with sacks of grain into the center of a village. To receive the grain, the villagers were required to squirm on their bellies, worming their way forward, all the time weeping and wailing lamentations over the Emperor's death. Food was doled out based on some trooper's belief in the sincerity of the mourning. Kirtan had no doubt that many of the people had come to believe they truly did regret the Emperor's death. Those people, Agent Loor, conspired with the Emperor's murderers. They have learned that their actions have consequences, and they regret their past disloyalty. Her eyes tightened at the corners. In their previous arrogance, they dared believe the Empire was superfluous and could be replaced. Now they know this is not true. All that is good in their lives comes from the Empire. They have been shown the truth, and now live for a chance to be allowed back into our brotherhood. I saw. I remember. Isard's harsh expression slackened slightly. I recall your visual retention rate. Terprawa must have been meant as a lesson in contrition. Kirtan raised his chin slightly, exposing his throat. Madam Director, I regret deeply not having completed my mission. You do? Isard opened her hands and surprise widened her eyes. How is it you believe you have failed? You sent me out to destroy Rogue Squadron. Kirtan's head twisted slightly to the side. I have failed to do this. It is true that Rogue Squadron still exists, though for how much longer is in serious debate. The attack on Borlius hurt them badly. Your report made this quite apparent. She smiled, and Kirtan had to suppress a shudder. More important than that was the information you provided about General Dericote's private enterprise on Borlius. You could not have hidden it from me, of course, since it was key to the defense that sent the rebels away without a victory. Kirtan Loor bowed his head to her. I am glad you were pleased. As he looked back up, her expression changed again, and it did not speak to anything even approximating pleasure on her part. It also missed mild discomfort by a wide margin, turning his mouth into a desert and his stomach into a home for a sarlacc. What did I do? When he swallowed, his larynx scraped in his throat as if both were made of stone. What did I fail to do? I had expected something more of you, Agent Loor. Can you imagine what that is? He shook his head. I cannot. No, indeed you cannot. And do you know why you cannot? No. Her hissed words echoed through the nearly empty chamber. It is because your imagination has atrophied to the point of lifelessness. Recall, if you will, what Gilbastra thought of you. Curtin's face burned. He felt I relied on my retention of knowledge too much and used it to compensate for a lack of analysis. I remember this, and I have tried to change my ways. I had done an analysis of probable rebel strategies, and I isolated the number of worlds where I felt they might strike after they hit the Hensara system. And I was right, because Borlius was on that list. And how did you come to be at Borlius? You sent me there. I sent you there. She held her right hand out to her side, then brought the left hand into the same position with a similar gesture. Therefore you concluded that your analysis of rebel strategy paralleled mine, hence you sent me to Borlius. She brought her hands together, interlacing her fingers. You began analysis, found what you thought was corroboration for it, and then, instead of further testing your analysis and this corroborating evidence, you stopped thinking. Consider the utter absurdity of your conclusion. What? Kirtan Loor, are you so simple-minded to assume that if I could predict where the rebels were going to strike, I would send you and you alone to be there and observe their attack? I assure you I do not think so highly of your martial skills. The sarlacc in his stomach grew restless and began gnawing its way free of his belly. Borlius should have fallen, and did not only because Dericote had hidden resources available to defend it. If she were able to predict where the rebels would show up, she would have opposed them with significantly greater force and would have struck a solid blow against them. From the beginning, Agent Loor, the difficulty with the rebellion has been in locating them. Since the Emperor's death, they have been able to spread out and diversify their bases, making them more difficult to destroy. Your effort against the base at Talasy was commendable. Had Admiral Devlia not been stupid, Rogue Squadron might have been eliminated. The importance of that example, however, is to show you the vast problem we have in finding the rebels we want to kill. Isard clasped her high hands at the small of her back. Borlius is but one of 24 worlds that provides the rebels access to the core worlds and even Imperial Center herself. Defending against those attacks is nearly impossible and utterly ridiculous if one bears in mind that the destruction of the rebellion is the only way the preservation and restoration of the Empire can take place. This I do have utmost in my mind, and it is this consideration that sent you to Borlius. Curtin concentrated for a moment. The only thing I did at Borlius was discover Dericote's covert operation. But if she had known about that previously, she would have dealt with him herself. You sent me to spy on General Dericote? Isard nodded almost mechanically. He has skills that are useful to me. The fact that he had managed to repair and make operational the old Alderanian biotics facility indicated that his skills had not atrophied. After I received your report, I sent for him and left my own people in charge of Borlius. In fact, he is here now. My passage was delayed because you used ships meant for me to fetch him away. Very good, Agent Loor. Your report indicated he had the resources needed to resist a casual invitation. The arrival of a super star destroyer proved enough to convince him to join me here. I had my people safeguarding his operation for him, tightening defenses and the like. His facility is held hostage against his cooperation. Curtin closed his eyes for a moment, hoping all the confusion and conflicting thoughts in his mind would sort themselves out. They did not. He opened his eyes and saw her studying him as a scavenger would study carrion. Forgive me, Madam Director, but I've lost track of your mission for me. Your mission, Agent Loor, is the same as it has always been. Destroy Rogue Squadron. The fact that I choose other missions for you from time to time should not deflect you from your primary duty. Then you will be sending me back out into the galaxy to pursue them. No. You will remain here and work with General Dericote. Curtin opened his mouth and started to ask a question, then closed it. He watched her for a moment, then bowed his head. As you wish, Madam Director. No, as it must be. She turned away from him and faced the windows that looked out over Imperial City. There is no need to send you in their pursuit. You see, soon enough they will be here, and when they are, it will be with quite the welcome you have prepared for them. That's the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.